皆さんおはようございます。Thank you for joining me. This is the Japanese Easy News Article of the Day, where we break down easy Japanese news articles to study Japanese. And today is November 25th, 2025, 2025年11月25日でございます。So today, for our article, here is our title. We have 東京都新しいマンションを買う外国人が増えている。So, Tokyo-to, this is the Tokyo prefecture, or the Tokyo capital, right? Tokyo-to, 新しいマンション. So, 新しい new, mansion is apartment complexes. So, 新しいマンションを, this is our object here. So, new apartment complexes を買う外国人. So all of this is modifying our noun to describe what kind of foreigners, 外国人 we're talking about here. We have 外国人, foreigners, 買う to buy. So foreigners who buy new apartment complexes or new apartments in these complexes, right? So 新しいマンションを買う外国人が as our subject here, 増えている. So 増える is for something to increase, and we are in that state of it continuing to increase. So in Tokyo Prefecture, the number of foreigners who are buying new apartments in apartment complexes is increasing. Also, a little bit of a note for today. For some reason, none of the articles today had some native audio to go along with them. So usually we have native audio to go along with this, but today we do not. So just know that going forward, if they continue to release that, I will also have that in the video. But for today, I will do my best to be as native as possible in my pronunciation. I think I'm pretty good, but not native. So just a little note there. Okay, here is our vocabulary list from the article. We have a mansion is an apartment complex. This is a katakana word coming from the English word mansion or mansion, but it does not mean mansion. So it just means an apartment complex or a big group of apartments. So that's mansion. We have 増える is for something to increase. 調べる is to look into or research something. 住所 is an address. 倍 is number of times, magnitude. We've done this one several times, but 2倍 would be 2 times something. 3倍 would be 3 times something. It's an order of magnitude. Then we have 割合 is a ratio or a proportion. And 全体 is whole or entirely. Okay, let's jump right into our article here. So for our first sentence, we have 国は新しくできたマンションをどんな人が買っているかなどを調べました。Okay, so we have 国は, this is our main topic here. 国 being the country, in this case Japan. 国 can also refer to the government. That's probably what they're talking about here. So the government or the country of Japan は新しくできたマンション. So here we have mansion, which is apartment complexes. And then what kind of apartment complexes are we talking about? 新しくできた. So this is 新しい in the adverb form. So 新しい、新しく when something is done in a new manner. So that is often accompanied with a verb, which we have here, できた, to be built, to be made, to come to fruition. So 新しくできたマンション would be newly built apartment complexes. 新しくできたマンションを it's our object here. どんな人が買っているか. So we have a か here, that's our embedded question. And our embedded question is どんな人が買っているか. So どんな is attached to a noun meaning what kind of, and then we have 人. So どんな人 would be what kind of people or what kind of person が買っている. So this is the verb 買う in the ている form. So to buy something. currently buying with the 定いる form there. So, どんな人が買っているかなど is and things that are like that を調べました. Okay, so we have our verb here that connects back to our main topic. So the government 国は調べました. They looked something up or they did research about something. And what did they do research about? We have our O here to tell us what that is. So they looked at or researched what kind of people are buying newly built apartment complexes or apartments in the apartment complexes and things like that. So nado, Japanese loves doing this, not being specific, but then saying, there's other things that they also looked into. Okay, so 国は新しくできたマンションをどんな人が買っているかなどを調べました。Okay. Next we have 東京都に新しくできたマンションを今年1月から6月までに買った人のうち 3.0% は外国に住所のある人でした。Okay. So 東京都に So 東京都 in the Tokyo capital. 東京都に This ni tells us in the capital. 新しくできたマンション. So once again, that same phrase we had earlier, newly built apartment complexes. 新しくできたマンションを That's our object here. 今年1月から6月までに. So 今年 would be this year. We have 1月 which is January, and 6月, which is June, with から and まで. So from January until June, までに買った人. So all of this is talking about the kind of hito that we're referring to here. So people, what kind of people? People who have purchased or bought, 買う in the past tense, 買った. So people who have bought newly built apartments from January to June of this year, 今年 のうち. So のうち is kind of used like naka. So within this group, inside of a group of people, you can use group のうち. So here we have from among people who've newly bought newly built apartments from January to June, from among that group, 3.0% or 3.0%, 0 or 0, you could say for 0. And then 10 is how we say point or like a decimal. So 3.0%. So 3% of these people は外国に住所のある人でした. So 外国に in a foreign country. 住所 is address のある人でした. So ある would be existing and person here. So 3% of the people who have bought newly built apartments from January to June were でした here, were people 人でした who had あるaddresses 住所 in foreign countries. 外国に住所のある人たちでした。ある人でした。Now, a lot of people might ask, why is this a ni or why is this a no instead of a ni here? Normally, ある, when you say where something exists, you would use a ni. And the reason that's a ni, well, the reason it's a no is because this ni here is where it's saying where a thing is existing. Now, this could be a ga here, but because we are modifying a noun here with hito, you can think of this as being used to connect to this noun here. So, 住所のある人 be a person who has an address. And now, 住所がある人 also works, but in formal Japanese, and I find particularly in news articles, a lot of time this no is preferred over a ga. So, 外国に住所のある人 would just be a person who has an address in a foreign country. So to put that whole sentence together, we have from among all the people who bought apartments this year, or newly built apartments this year from January to June in Tokyo, 3% of them were people who had foreign addresses. So it's quite a big number. Okay, and then we have 前の年は 1.5 or sorry 前の年は 1.5% だったので2倍に増えました。Okay, so 前の年は前の年 is the previous year. So in the previous year 1.5%. So 1.5, 1.5% だった。It was 1.5%. So this is the plain form of でした。1.5% だったので this ので is our because last year was 1.5%. 2倍に増えました。So 2倍 is 2 times or double. And then に増えました。増える is to increase. And then this に is often used with 増える to when something increases to a certain amount. So the previous year was 1.5%. Therefore, that number has doubled. It's increased 2 times. 2倍に増えました。Now we have そして去年の1月から6月までに新しいマンションを買って1年以内に売ったりした割合は全体の 8.5% でした。Okay, so そして it's kind of like a then or in addition to that 去年の1月から6月までに so 去年 would be last year 前の年 you can also say last year but 去年 is the word the single word you can use to be last year. This is kind of like the previous year 去年 would be like the last year. So 去年の1月から6月までに so once again from January until July 新しいマンションを買って新しいマンション a new apartment building or a new apartment in the apartment building を買って purchased and then this form is telling us it's not only the purchasing that's going on something else that's going on so how to purchase or buy in the form で1年以内に so 1年以内1年 is a year and 以内 is within so within 1 year 売ったりした so this is 売る to sell with the grammar たりたりする here so たりする is how we say did things like this so people who bought a new apartment in Tokyo last year from January to June and then within 1 year sold it or did things like sell it 売ったりした割合 so the ratio or the proportion of people who did this all of this は全体の 8.5% でした 8.5% でした Okay, so 全体の is of the entirety or of the whole. And then we have 8.5%. So 8.5, 8.5%. So the ratio of people who bought new apartments in Tokyo last year from January to June was 8.5% of the total of all of the people who bought an apartment within that time frame. So that's a pretty big percentage, about almost 10% reaching there. So, okay, then we have 前の年の 5.2% より増えました。So 前の年の so 前の年 the previous year. Then we're still connecting to that noun with no here. 5.2%. So 5.2%. So the 5.2% from the previous year. And then we have より増えました. So from that 5.2% of last year, it increased. 増えました. So we had 8.5% of the people that bought these new apartments sold them within 1 year. And then the previous year was 5.2%, and it has increased since that last year, 5.2%. Okay. Then we have 国はマンションを住むためではなく、売ってお金を稼ぐために買うのをどうするか考えたいと話しています。Okay, so first of all, let's just break this sentence down to make it easier for English speakers, and then we'll go through it in the Japanese order to kind of build your Japanese brain. So this is a pretty complex sentence here, but if we kind of break down the particles and what they connect to, it'll kind of make sense. So a lot of times in Japanese, we want to find our main topic or our main subjects, then our objects and our verbs that all connect together. So what is going on here? We have a kuni wa at the start and then to hanashite imasu. So this is something that the government or the country is saying. They've said this out loud. Kuni wa hanashite imasu. So hanasu, say in the teiru form, they are saying this. To. So this is, and then all of this is what they are saying from here to here. Okay, so what is the country saying? マンションを住むためではなく. Okay, so we have an O here. We got to think about what verb this goes with. マンションを住むためではなく. So 住む is to live, and then ため is for the purpose of, and then this ではなく is actually the same thing as じゃない. But it's in an adverb form here. So instead of ではない or ではなく or ではない or じゃない, we have じゃなく. It's kind of a continuous form here. So mansions or apartment complexes, sorry, マンション apartment complexes を住むためではなく, not for the purpose of living, but for the purpose of, we have a ために here, purpose of 売ってお金を稼ぐため. So these are two verbs here that connect to our ため for the purpose of 売って to sell. So 売る in the te form 売ってお金を稼ぐ. So お金 money, and 稼ぐ is to make, particularly used for money and time. 時間を稼ぐ or お金を稼ぐ to save time, to save money. Or to make time or to make money, yes. And then ために買う. So this マンションを actually connects to 買う here. Sorry, a little bit off, but this 買う, right? So gosh, I'm saying a bunch of Japanese words. Okay. The country or Japan is saying that they would like to think about 考えたい. 考えたい. They would like to think about, 考える is to think or consider. In the I form, they want to consider what? どうするか. So どうするか. What to do, what should be done. And this is our embedded question here. どうするか. And we have our O here. So what are we saying, or what are we considering about what to do about? This マンションを住むためではなく、売ってお金を稼ぐために買うの. We have a verb if we want to turn our verb into an object for another verb. We have to use no to make it into a noun, and then we use o to make it our object, right? So if you were to kind of break it down, you'd want to break it down into little sections like this. So we've got 国は話しています. The government is saying something, right? And what are they talking about? They are talking that, or they are saying that they would like to 考えたい, consider, like to consider what to do, どうするか, about, and this を is our about, and then all of this right here. And this no is just taking this verb here that kind of applies to all of this and turning it into a noun. So the country is saying they'd like to consider or talk about what to do about people or the thing of people doing this action, right? マンションを住むためではなく、売ってお金を稼ぐために買う. So to purchase, to purchase apartment complexes not for the purpose of living, but for the purpose of selling to make money. So when you're kind of translating back and forth in between English and Japanese, you kind of have to break down these sections and be like, okay, where does this wa connect to? There might be a verb. Oh, it's this hanashiteimasu. Where does this o connect to? What is our verb that is acting on our object of manshon? Oh, it's the how. Okay. And then what do we have? We have an o here. Okay. This o goes right to this verb right next to it. So a lot of times in Japanese, you have like a Russian doll structure, right? Like a matryoshka, I think that's what they're called, where it's like as you go in, it gets smaller and the things that they're connected to are closer. So you can see the wa here connects to the verb at the end. Then we have this o connects to the verb here. This o connects to the verb right there. And particularly for really long Japanese sentences, when you're translating into English, that's kind of how you have to work. But as you get better at thinking in Japanese, this order will become more natural. So the country, apartment complex is not for the purpose of living, but to sell and make money. How to think would like to consider are talking, which sounds completely crazy when you put it in English, but this is just the Japanese natural flow of things. So if you're like trying to do a test or trying to translate something, this way of breaking things down can definitely help. But eventually reading these kind of sentences, listening to these kind of sentences, your mind will get used to this Japanese order of things, about how things are grouped and how things are ordered. So, and yeah, hopefully these articles are kind of building that ability in your brain so that you can train that Japanese brain to be thinking in Japanese, not just in English. So hopefully these articles, you're using them in that way, even though we still kind of want to break it down to understand what's going on, but then we also want to be training that Japanese brain to be thinking in that way. So cool. Thank you so much for being here today. Hopefully this article was helpful. If you like these articles, please like and subscribe, and also hit that bell so that you're notified of our daily videos. We only miss, so we do daily weekday videos, but we only miss when Japanese holidays occur. They don't do these articles when there are Japanese holidays or when I'm deathly ill, but as those of you who've been with me know, that doesn't happen very often. So hopefully you're liking what you see, and thank you so much for being here. I will plan on seeing you tomorrow. また明日。